Hello. Welcome. Welcome. All right. Let's get going today. We are going to work on the sword. This guy. He's back. I feel like my palette's off view, but anyways. Hi, Joaquin. So, man, this is running out. Okay. Different yellow then. Just go with that one. So, time to do the sword. Hi everybody, hi Sean, hi RoboCop. Yep, so, oh, also, can you hear that? Can you hear that sound? Oh yeah, it's new brushes. That's the sound of new brushes. What do we want to go with? Let's go with, I like the 3. Yeah, man. Series S size 3. Let's get that new bad boy going. Hi, Dave. All right. So, we want to work on the sword. So the sword generally faces up. We're going to go with a steel, and then it's going to have a gold handle. Evening, everyone. Bottom of it's not super important, but I am going to get some of the orange under there. That's what the orange is for. So I'll go through what I've got on my palette. Again, the exact colors don't matter. I've got a black, of course. I've got a white, right, ivory. Blue-gray for general reflections. Orange to adjust for a warm reflection of the ground, blue for sky, yellow for the sunny reflection point. I can also use a little bit of the orange to make that adjustment. And then there you go. So. We're effectively going to go through the color range, right? The big thing is going to be getting this edge well done, right? We want that one to be the brightest part because it faces the main view. Then this side back here can reflect more of the sky. Hola, Sergio. Sergio. You're gonna play D&D and watch me at the same time? All right. So we're gonna build up through the layers. Basically, the final layer on this side is going to be close. It's just going to be a really light blue, right? So we got the sky reflection on that side. Then we'll end up having a mostly sky reflection on this side. But instead of going through the blues, we're going to start to go through the yellows to get the warm sunny reflection. So we want the brightest point to be down here. What is that? Overrated. Thanks for the prime, man. Appreciate it. So a little more of this guy, then we'll take just a touch of the orange. That's gonna, well, the orange is gonna affect the color really fast, but you can see when we make, because the orange is a complementary color to blue, it turns more of a neutral gray, and the more orange I add, the warmer the gray is gonna get. So we want on this end, right, so it's going to start to go through those colors. Now we get a slightly warmer neutral gray. You can see I'm splitting it up, right? So I'm not doing just like one gradient across the whole thing. I don't want the tip to be the brightest point, reflection point. If we look at the figure from like this angle, really like right here is where the brightest reflection point's gonna end up being. And we can grab just a bit of the blue. To make the sky reflection down there. And I can always adjust and add more light where I need it. So maybe this is just a touch brighter. Okay, something like that. And then I want to create that edge highlight. Create that brightest point reflection. Right? So that gives me kind of the edge of the sword, or the two blades, but I still have to do the center, where there's a lot of little filigree and stuff. But real quick, I'm going to take just a tiny amount of the orange. I'm just going to glaze a little orange on there to add some of that warmth back in. All right, so it kind of sketches out the reflection pattern, but we still have to refine and paint all the filigree and whatnot. So on this side, I'm going to push it just a little bit more on this point. And a couple nice bright points on the other edge. Now, this got a little messy because it was too watery. And probably the easiest thing to do at this point will be to paint the top line, which I'm going to put my glasses on for this. We have to paint a very thin edge. Hello. Rasga Col Mio? Rasga Colmillo? I don't know. Are you a Spanish speaker? Ras? Ah. Un pequeño lección de inglés. Good night is a goodbye. Good evening is a greeting. For some reason, we have a difference. Unlike buenas tardes or buenas noches could be hello. Hello or goodbye in Spanish. In English, it's only one. All right, so trying to get that thin line, right, to separate the two. Hey man, I appreciate all the Spanish lessons that I get from chat, so. Okay, so we'll get the edges nice and crisp. Nice and sharp. Okay, now sorry, I'm here. Maybe it'll help if I just use the camera. So I'm trying to see how the filigree is, because it's very small. And I'm just trying to pick up on kind of how the pattern is done. Because Joaquin decided to make it as small as possible. I'm just teasing. So, essentially what we want to do is they're like little swirls. So we want to find each swirl. And highlight each swirl on the same part of the curve. There's small and there's I need a microscope. It's so tiny, Dave. Yeah, I'm doing it. See? I feel like it's just going to look like dots. That's okay. It'll just give it a little hammered texture. Yeah, they're spirals, of course. I can definitely see that. I'm going to use a little slightly thicker than a glaze going in one direction to try and just hit the ridges of each of these and kind of pull the paint in a direction to give the whole thing a bit of a gradient. All right, let me zoom out a little. Okay. Now, we're going to take some of the darker tone and do the same thing. This time I'm going to pull in the other direction. And a little more watery, so this is more like a glaze. I don't understand that reference. Feel biting? Feel biting. All right. And then again. Okay, so now we have kind of gradient across the top of the sword. And then I can put some reflections. Say like here, I want to increase the reflection point. So I want a reflection point not on the edge, but like I want it more on, not on this edge, but on this edge right here. You look at it, it has kind of that kind of effect. Now I feel like that one whole edge is a little dark. Yeah, absolutely. Curve, you're going to have, so here, like the curve goes right there. On an axe, you get a little more extreme, like different contrast because the curve is larger, right? So let's look at something real quick, right? So let's look at a knife, right? You can see as I turn this knife, right? The reflection is either not there or kind of there, right? You either get sort of all of it or none of it. You can get, if you position it just right, you can get kind of like one or the other, right? But if we do it on this one, right, you can see that the curve is much more like, you can get things like this, right? So because it's curved, you can get a lot more different types of reflection patterns like this, right? So you can see here it's like reflecting the light only at the very tip, and then it's also reflecting my hand. Or here you can get it kind of in the middle of that curve, right? If I go like that, I can get it like just on that point. But when I go like with this, it's much harder to get like a band that runs sort of in the middle, because the whole blade is very straight. Does that make sense? So his sword is close to being a straight edge, right? But there is a very subtle curve to it, where it's like the skinniest part is actually like right here, right? So it's actually slightly wider at right here than it is here. And then it gets wider down here. So there is a subtle curve and then a bigger curve at the point. Yeah, man, just go out and buy a full suit of armor and just go take it around with you and photograph it in fields and stuff. It'll help a lot. So now with the swirls, I got to get this reflection point on each of the swirls. So you can see that's kind of where each of the swirls catches, right? If the curve's like this on the swirl, right? You get a swirl like this shape on that's repeating. The light comes in and hits this back edge, and reflects back at you. I can show it actually. So let's look at like a can. See? Now if I curve it like this, the reflection is back here. Don't make fun of me, I drink a lot of Red Bull. Look at what happens if I put two next to each other, right? So if I repeated this like 100 times, you would get the same reflection point on every single one. And then notice that the same reflection is across, right? So it bop, bop, right? It's a circle, so the reflection, if the reflection's back here, the reflection goes on the same part on the other side of the loop, right? So the same concept applies to, I'll let you guys guess, right? So besides just swirls, what other common thing on miniatures would you see that sort of reflection pattern? I'll give you a couple. There you go. Minimancer got it immediately. Chainmail is correct. Now, sometimes your light could be so intense that even with, this is more like a photography trick and not necessarily how it would look in real life. But if I wanted this part here to be extremely shiny, I can actually kind of overdo it and then feather it out. And it's more like a bloom, right? Where it's like a lens flare. It's so bright that it kills any shadows. I do. You can go back and watch all of the painting on my YouTube. All the past streams up that were this year, not last year's. Okay, so we'll put some more dots. Right. So we get the kind of feeling that it's the swirls now. And then we'll do, I do know what will be next on stream. A Primark for the Nova charity. I'm not going to say which Primark, but that is the next stream project. It will be a surprise. Okay. Well, I appreciate it, but it doesn't do particularly well for the YouTube algorithm. People just want 10-minute painting tutorials. You finished the dwarf? No one ever finishes models from workshops. I don't believe you. Well, that's very cool. I'm glad to hear it. All right, let's try to paint the other side of each swirl. To get the back sky reflection. It's kind of just becoming noise at this point. Honestly, this probably would have just been better to paint it flat and wash it, but you know, whatever. Okay, so sword. Well, I'm glad to hear you enjoyed the class, and I'm glad to hear that you're finished the model and painting more other large-scale stuff. All right, let's zoom out because it's, you know, it's one thing to see it up close. It's another thing to like zoom out and look at how it looks, right, from a distance. Okay, so now we have to do the same thing on the bottom, but this time I'm going to mix some orange with the black. And we're going to build up to our earth tones. Come on, focus. Stop focusing on sprue junk. Oh, you jerk, camera. Come on. Focus on the sword. This is a very awkward angle to hold the figure from also. Get a better point. Dude, I swear, screen. Why are you doing this to me? Just focus on the thing. Hi, Joe. Okay, so see, we get some of that yellow from the bottom. So now when you look at the sword, you get that ground reflection on the bottom and the sky reflection on top. Because the camera's being a nightmare, I'll go in and finish that later. It's very awkward to hold, but you guys get the idea. Okay. Thanks, Joe. Blacken the other parts of the sword. So the handle and the pommel. Okay, so like that. So, Joaquin, can I make a small compositional observation and to your figure? I think no, I can't. I'm going to anyways. So I think, and I've noticed this on a couple other figures too. So let me compare to another figure I did recently. Right. So this guy, right? So this is the main view, right? If this was the main view, this would suck. Why? Because the sword blade is like, you can't really like see the sword. So, but from here you get like a more flat. I've seen quite a few of these. Even if it's slightly awkward to hold, if you just turn the wrist slightly, just to so you don't get like the double bevel from the main view, right? So when he's holding it like this, it makes the sword like extremely thin. If it's twisted to show the like flat of the sword slightly more from the main view, I think it helps a little bit. So if the sword was more like that, right? But that's just, it's just me. I think it looks a little better. Like maybe here, maybe it helps on this guy, right? So like on this guy, right? Like you get the full flat of the sword instead of the sword being like this, which looks a little odd. No. All right, what are we gonna work on? The shield. The shield. So we need colors for the shield. Our golds again. Now the cool thing about the shield is it doesn't have to be the exact colors of the rest of the gold, right? It could be a different material. It's fine if it's a slightly different shade of gold. Now the armor, I feel like, yes, should all be... The armor should all be the same. Yeah, I'm going to paint the decorated shield. So all I've done is just airbrush it real quick. I basically zenithal primed it, but instead of using white, I used English uniform just to get the rough highlighting. Now, when the shield is not mounted, also this informs me which way is like up on the shield where he's holding it, right? Make sure if you're painting the shield separate that you know which way is up, right? So there's his hand right there. So I know that faces down. So this is the top. That's where his arm connection is. I'm painting this shield because this is what chat wanted me to paint. They wanted me to paint this one. They said, look, we know you can do freehand. We know you can paint a flat shield. Paint the fancy sculpted shield. We've seen it. We've seen you paint freehand. Boring. Okay, fine. So, gold 79. We'll go with maybe just slightly more brassy. I've already got this on my palette, right? So that. Then we need something a little neutral yellowish. Hi, 2A. We have a second special guest. The 2A Kai. Okay, so we're gonna go with that. So pip pip pip. Pip pip pip. And then we've already got orange for the bottom. Beep beep beep. So we're going to avoid using too much pure yellow, but if we need to get a little pure yellow in there, we can always add a little more yellow, or we could even glaze it with some transparent yellow. There's Easter eggs? All right, guys, let's figure out what the Easter eggs are. I see a lady. That looks like a lady with a shield and a sword. Is that a bird? Is that a lady with a shield, sword, shield, and bird? I don't think that's been done. There's another lady with a bird. All of these ladies have birds. Very interesting. Got a couple Spartan-looking guys. I think the ladies with the birds. I think the one lady with the birds is the ladies with the birds is the clue. Is that a snakehead? It is a snakehead. I thought it was just a rope. Yeah, they're tiny, all right. These like spears that they're holding are like a hair's width. All right. Well, all right. So I got my colors. I'm burning up because it's very hot here and I need a drink. So I'm going to run and grab a drink real quick. Then I will be back. But anyone just hopping in, this is where we're at. Getting close. Got a few things to finish. Gotta finish this gauntlet and some details and paint the shield, but we are getting close. Okay. I'll be back in a couple minutes. How you doing, 2A, by the way? Been working on your Votan. Your space dwarfs. Torbjorn. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Gifted a sub to Dave. Dave's not subbed already? Oh my god. And Sean's not subbed? Jeez. If you guys didn't see last week, I painted. Actually, I'm gonna grab him real fast. If you didn't see last week, I painted this orky man on stream. What's his name? Ergot Broken Tooth or something? Something Broken Tooth. Anyways, Torbjorn launched a Kickstarter. Feel free to link it. And you can get this guy and some other academic busts. And it's currently funded. And I think they're pretty cool. I think they're quite cool. Oh yeah, I'm done with him for now. We're painting a shield. All right. So, main goal here is to get the sketch in, right? We're going to sketch the main reflections, and then we'll work on kind of detailing everything. So know that the main reflection is going to be over on this top left side, right? There's this thing. I'm actually going to mark it so it's like here. Sweet. Fin model show sounds pretty cool. Are you, by the way, you're driving to SMC, right? Hi, Wendy. I have a figure, we'll say, I have a thing that's too big to take on an airplane. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get it to SMC. Yeah, I was considering maybe shipping it to someone I trust to bring it with them. So like pack it up, ship it, and then assemble it at the show. Yeah, I trust shipping it as long as it's well packed. Right? Like I would. All right, so we're going to continue around with that. We're going to continue around the shield with this kind of effect, right? We're basically ignoring the raised details, and we will paint in the raised details later, right? So let's get the main reflection in. We don't have to be like, I like some weird shapes, right? I'm fine with some weird shapes in the metallic, some unusual reflection patterns. This isn't a spoiler here. Because I'm not going to say who it's for or anything like that. This is the base. I said it was big. Too big to take on an airplane. I will answer that in private to a. I'm not saying anything else about it other than showing you the footprint. But needless to say, it's quite large. And I was like, do I need to like buy an extra plane ticket and it ride in the seat next to me? Like, I know that's possible. You're allowed to do that. Yeah, it definitely can't be my carry-on. It exceeds the carry-on limitation for size. Plus, I need to carry on another box of figures. That's just one. You think I'm coming to Europe with just one piece? You're crazy. Roll deep. Yeah, so my thought would be, if I could just have it assembled all with pins and then just put something on it for the judges like, hey, please don't tilt this thing because it's not permanently attached because I have to ship it back to the United States, then maybe that would work. Can you have your piece judge and just be like, don't even pick it up? Do not lift. Then I don't even have to paint the bottom. I don't have to paint. You literally can't see. Okay, so now we've got like the rough top and bottom reflections. We're gonna keep building up the light on top. Get our main reflection point. I want some secondaries in there. Hi Eric, I'm noticing on my old minis I just didn't push the light value high enough because I was just getting started painting. They are all finished in matte varnish. Can you paint over varnish? Yeah, absolutely you can paint over varnish. Sometimes I varnish like in between because I'll be using inks or something like that, and the inks are like really shiny and I want to just like knock the shine down so I can see the reflections better, right? So I can see more how the paint looks instead of how the light's affecting the figure. So sometimes I'll like apply a coat of varnish, in the middle of the process. So yeah, you can absolutely paint over top of varnish. Yeah, I know the Patrick Masson story. That one is pretty, that's pretty heartbreaking. I've seen people like break some things at Golden Demon or whatever, and you're like, yeah, it sucks, but it's fixable. I mean, even that's fixable. But it could be, that could be like an insane amount of work. Like, I've broken things and you glue it back together and touch up the paint, but that I don't know. Like, that's crazy. All right, so we're getting some interesting shapes and patterns to the reflections now. I need an orange that is slightly more reddish. It's got a little bit better coverage. Oh yeah, I'm not saying it's ever going to be the same, but if it was painted, it would be even worse, because then you're... I mean, what would I do if, like, one of mine got really badly broken, right? Like, I don't know. I couldn't fix a custom sculpt that, like, if it was that damaged. I'll send it back to Joaquin, have him fix it, and then I got to paint over the whole thing again, basically. Like, no idea, man. Just 3D print, it's not a problem. I mean, like, what are you gonna do, right? You sign a thing that's like a waiver that's basically like, yeah, it could get damaged. All right, let's get a little more of the yellow in certain areas. I don't want some of these ground reflections. I don't want them to be too orange on the side. I just want the main bottom reflection. And let's continue to push the light some more. And before I go crazy, like with the details, I'm going to check on the figure, right? So I'll pull it off the tack and double check the to make sure the sketch is working on the figure. Now that's pretty messed up. I will say, if your figure is, I've picked up figures before that I thought were mounted like to the plinth and they weren't. They were just like barely blue tacked on or something, and they almost like slid off or whatever. Like, if they're not, like, you should probably put some kind of plaque or something that's like, hey, this thing is not permanently attached. I guess a rotating platform I would have been more questioning. Hello, Rosen Metal. Rosen's Metal. Thanks for the raid. Welcome. How's everyone doing? What were you up to? Tresky. Thanks for following. Welcome. All right, so we're continuing to build up the light. This is the main reflection point. It actually faces slightly away from him, so we're gonna check in just a second to see where on the circle you would get the like sun reflection, but I'm just gonna get it roughly here. The condescending part, I'm actually not gonna like be mad at the guy for not just like immediately accepting responsibility, because the piece was probably worth like thousands of dollars, and if you just immediately jump to like, yeah, it was my fault, like, you might be opening yourself up to something. But to like be a jerk about it and be like, no, this was your fault, you should have said something. Or what did you expect? Like, come on. I'm guessing that guy is never judged again at Monty. All right. Let's peek. I'm actually worried about getting all that off. Let's just see how it looks in position. So it goes right here. I'm pretty happy with that lighting position. It's pointing right at his face, which is what I want. Right. Yeah, I'm using the compositional lines of the reflection to draw further attention to his face. But I do need to pull the orange around some on the bottom and maybe a bit less on this side and a bit more light, like the green light up here. So this reflection needs to come around. Like so. Then we're going to pull some of that orange out of here. We don't want it right here. And then we're going to get this a little greenish for the sky up in this side. Okay, something closer to that. Now, looking at the two in position, I don't mind the brassiness, but maybe I want to just get a little color on it just because it's a bit far off from the rest of the tonality of the piece. We can use some of the transparent yellow to filter some color on top. I'm actually going to use some of the yellow to get some this orange a bit more yellow down here. And I want the saturation to be like where the transition point from the sunny part of the reflection to the darker. Okay, so something like that. Quick and easy, nothing fancy, just trying to get that reflection point looking right. Okay, cool. Now a bit more of the greenish tone for the sky side. Okay, something like that. Okay, let's look at the ground, right? It's very orange. But the final light, if we want that, we don't want it to look like Mars. And that will be our maximum reflection. Okay. So now you can kind of look at it and sort of picture the scene that it's reflecting, right? I think here needs a little bit more of the ground, and then there needs to be Slightly darker transition here for the horizon. And here we'll get just a bit more of that orange. Right. Everyone see it now? Can you picture it? Can you see the landscape? So you got the horizon, that sort of ground desert reflection. You've got the sun and maybe some little bit of clouds. Maybe some clouds over here. Clouds over here. And nice bright sun. Right. We'll put in a extreme. Okay, so now if I go like that, okay. Thanks, Joaquin. So I feel good about the sketch. Now how do we advance the sketch? I actually want just a little bit more of this yellow color here on the sunny side. Let's go like that. Okay, so now we have to go around and we've got the sketch. Now there's a ton of filigree, and we kind of ran into this with the, what's it called? Let me just double check, make sure everything looks right. We get it into actual position. Okay, so it's like that. I still think, actually, looking at it, because the shield is tilted upwards slightly, like this, that a little bit of the center light needs to come down slightly. So the horizon needs to be shifted down just a touch. I think that's our new horizon. Now it could be mountains and other stuff, so I'm not going to worry about it being like a flat plane all the way across. But I want to get rid of the orange right there. See you, Joy. Okay, that I feel a little better about. I'm going to lower it slightly over here also. But a lot of this is going to get adjusted when we start to come in and like line around everything and paint all the edge highlights. Right. So it's all an abstraction of what the scene is. Okay. And then all the refinement is what's really gonna like bring it together. What I will do first is just slightly soften some of these more harsh transitions. So like here. Right, but a lot of these transitions will get completely covered up when we go to do all the details. Right, like that's a little harsh, and it's a flat surface right there. So I want to clean that up. Okay. All right. And last little bit. Just get that together. Cool. Okay, so sketch. Good. Really rough, but that's okay. Because all the edge highlighting and stuff we're about to do is what's gonna make it look refined. All right, so I'm gonna take a quick break and then we will continue on. I know. I said bye. Oh, you're talking about my roommate. Just took off, not 2A. Yes, okay. So he'll be from Philly. He'll be home in 2 hours, roughly. All right. Well, all right, I'll be right back. How do we get all this detail back? Well, the easy way would basically be to like pen wash around, try and make a very thin wash to go around it. Right, so we're going to use it like a wash. but we're not going to flood the model. I'm going to paint like a wash, but use the place it only where I want. Right, so I'm just trying to pick out all of the details around each little raised element. If I do it too heavy, it starts to affect. Right? If I just applied it to the whole thing, it would just darken everything, and I don't want that. Right? Hello, Do Cool. Welcome. Okay, so it's like black lining. The swirls I'm a little more okay with. Just darkening in, but you can see I can kind of just touch and let the capillary action do its thing. And then up here, where we're closer to the sun, the actual light source, I'm going to use this to do the wash instead. Where it'll flare out the light, right? Right, so some of the details are starting to get picked up. I can make an intermediate between the two. Okay, we want to go around all the little guys. Okay. So now we've got a rough outline of all of them. Now they're going to be much more defined when we basically go around and edge highlight everything. But this gives them a little dark outline to help make them stand out. Get the snake head. And then want to make sure we get these little things again where the wash did not quite dry, get as black as we maybe wanted it to. Hi, Doug. Okay, and then around the center. Cool. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now, we basically just pick a spot and start edge highlighting. Probably look at this right now and you go like, that looks like crap. I would agree. But as we begin to edge highlight and start to pick out, and I'm going to use my glasses for this. As we start to define all the little edges and everything, everything is going to become much shinier looking. Right, so I'm focusing on the direction the lighting's coming from. I actually think I'm going to just use some moon yellow for this part. It's a little more yellowish than the other color I'm using. And then I'll switch to the lighter yellow. I want this to be nice and fluid so it flows well, but not so I can trace a clean line, but not so fluid that it flows into the recesses, because I don't want to screw up the dark lining that I did. But I can always restore some of the dark lining if I need. See you, Dave. All right, notice I'm not just painting the edge here. I'm also going to paint the edge next to that. All right, so get this really nice, like, light, dark, light edge. Paint the edges of the little men. If I need to shrink some of the, or if parts of it got too thick, I can come in and paint right up to that to just shrink that line, make that dark line super thin. Okay, you start to see that picks out those details. So I'm going to kind of go and do like sections at a time. Like we were talking about on the sword loops, swirls, to think about which way the direction is coming. So on each one of these little loops, I got to think about what the position of the light's going to be. What part of the loop gets the brightest shine. So I know each loop, the top left, and then the bottom right, I'll get the shine. So I don't want to spin the shield as I'm painting it, so that I make sure I maintain the same orientation as I go around. And I can place the shine on the same part on each loop. Right, and occasionally I might have to come in and fix some things if I get a little outside. Hello, hi Mad Mikes. How are you? What were you doing? What were you up to? Now these are even more intense because now you've got double loops on every one. Thanks, LT Cattle. Welcome in, new folks. My name's Eric. I paint miniatures. I'm currently painting a very detailed shield. I could have painted the flat one, but chat wanted to torture me. This is the figure. And this is his shield. So, just going around, painting lots of little edges. See ya. Bye, Joaquin. Right. So the idea is just to continue to push the contrast on all of this stuff until everything's well defined and you can see all the little individual characters and everything. See ya. So we're actually going to get into the yellows on the bottom, right? Because the bottom portion can still catch light on these rims, right? On these top edges, even though it's reflecting the ground down there. Then we're going to flip the thing over and paint orange reflections on the other side. If it was me, or if I were you, I think this shield would maybe look better with true metallics. It certainly would be easier to paint. Hit it with some true metallics, give it a nice wash. Bim bam, Bob's your uncle, right? But I'm not one to go the easy route. So you can start to see now, as we get more of that edge, those edge lights in, starts to feel more metallic-y. Did I put everyone to sleep yet with these edge highlights? Remember, this is what you asked for. No, the orange could go all the way up depending. It'll probably be a lot less. But let's say I flip for the orange. I don't want it to go too far into the light, but on some of them, like this guy, like maybe the bottom of him does get some orange, right? So you get some orange like this. And some of these characters that stick out a little further. Right? So you get some kind of effect like that. And I might even use a brighter orange. I'm not even going to try that name. No, actually I got it. Sir Wiggy McSquiggity. Hi. Hello. This is the Shield of Achilles, which the Shield of Achilles actual design is even more complicated than this, but it's close to like the spirit of his design. His has like multiple rings of cities and farmers and all this other stuff. Right, so the maximum light's going to go there, right? So I just want to get a feeling how some of the reflections are going to look with the more maxed out lights. Right, so we get a shinier reflection. Especially on some of these rings that go around the shield. These are some of the most important things to establish. Right, then you're going to have these ring reflections down here too. And they'll continue around the shield, but then we can put little spots. I like to put little dots here and there that make the shield look a little imperfect. Right. So if now you've got that loop right, this reflection runs like this. So through the middle of the shield. Hey, JP Ska. I mean, you gotta go get that, right? You gotta find out. I don't think it's that unbelievable when we have TV shows like Sasquatch Hunters and stuff, so. Just saying, maybe it's a little more believable than it seems. Right, so you can see that reflection pattern run through the middle now, like that. And I've got to do that everywhere. I mean, isn't the Arthurian legend like a bunch of dudes that spent their whole lives looking for a cup? Hey, honey, I'll be right back. I gotta go find a cup. I'm saying people hunt for ghosts nowadays, so the idea of the Argonauts going and looking for a golden fleece or whatever doesn't seem that insane to me. People are dumb. You don't know that? It could have been based on a real person. Hi, Dan. Thanks. I'm just over here painting tiny circles. That's the thing about legends, right? So they get exaggerated. So something like the story of the Lady of the Lake could have originally been something really stupid. Like, I found a sword by a lake. And then you have verbal tradition of passing down tales, and they get changed and more exaggerated. There's no definitive account of like Viking mythology. It's all just passed down. I mean, similar thing with like Viking, right? Viking mythology, you got characters like Frigg and Freya that could possibly be the same person. And then you have stories like King Arthur where it's like, which one was Excalibur? Was it the sword that he pulled from the stone, or was it the sword that the Lady of the Lake gave him? I mean, the Greeks were so well known about like keeping, you know, historically accurate tales. Where you've got the Iliad and you're like, yeah, that probably happened. Troy likely happened. And then you've got the Odyssey where it's like, and then they went on a boat and they fought Cyclopses. And sirens and whatever else. I don't remember the Odyssey that well. All right, so it's starting to take shape, right? We're starting to pick out some of the characters. As we go around, we had a smaller and smaller edge lights. Well, geez, I'm off camera. Sorry. Right, so we go around and we had smaller edge lights to things. Yeah. So let's keep picking out the little characters. The part that suck, these suck. These are not particularly enjoyable to paint. Trying to see these guys. Okay. Are you talking about cryptids now? The Mothman? And Sasquatch and Bigfoot? Or my personal favorite? The Squanch? Taller than trees. Thanks for following. I like hearing about other countries' cryptids because I find them interesting and funny. All right, let's anywhere. Yes. So it might actually be easier for me to rotate it this way so I can see where that line is. Okay, so this is so it starts to really start to feel a bit more metallic-y now, right? Let's look at it on him. Eh? Yeah? All right, all the little knot work. Let's finish the loops. The snake loops. Thanks, Gary. Hmm. How do you guys prefer your metal? You clearly you like a bit more tarnished. Is like super shiny or like the brushed look or more beat up, weathered metallics? I have to say, for me, it depends on the character. But I tend to find the brush metallic look, I think, kind of looks best, or at least the most believable in non-metallic. Thanks, Pumpkin Lore. All right. Snake rings, which now kind of look like octopus suction cups. It's July 5th, man. Stop setting off fireworks. That was yesterday. I feel like people find extras or something and they're like, oh, we forgot to light them all. I don't think they're actually illegal here now. I can't remember. I think they're legal in the state of Virginia now. I could be wrong. They were for a long time. You couldn't buy them. When I was a kid growing up, you could not buy fireworks in Virginia. I got no problem with them, though. Just don't burn anybody else's house down with them. If you blow your own fingers off, that's your fault. Brushmaster. Hello. Thank you. All right. Heck yeah, man. Freedom. Get the biggest fireworks you can and just... I'm saying, just get a howitzer. Just start firing that thing off. Heck yeah, brother. Let freedom ring. And my ears. Yeah, that's the problem. Wait, wasn't that like one of the huge California forest fires caused by somebody setting off, or brush fires or whatever it is? Caused by somebody setting off fireworks? Like one of the really big ones recently? Yeah, man, you can absolutely ask a question. I love questions. Can ask them about anything. Okay, so no, I don't dilute my paint on the palette. I dilute my paint with how much water I put in the brush when I rinse the brush off. So I have, you guys can't ever see this because I don't keep it on camera, but there's a paper towel right here. So when I wet my brush, right, I rinse my brush off in the cup of water you can't see, and then I drag it across the paper towel. By the way, these are blue shop towels. They are, I'll say, less lint than a regular paper towel. I'm not answering that question, Dan. That question is when I will not answer. So anyways, I remove the dilution by wiping on the paper towel, and then based on how much, yeah, they're just blue shop towels. Based on how much water is still left in the brush, I can adjust my dilution. That's why I create little pools, and then I can if I want to pull some of the paint off, I can remove a little on the paper towel again. And then I can apply it to the model, right? And the thing is like, I don't pre-formulate dilutions, right? I don't just add water to my paint on the palette, because I'm constantly searching for different dilutions. Sometimes I want it to be a little thicker. Sometimes I want it to be a little thinner. It just depends on what I'm trying to paint. So I can make glazes or washes or use thick paint for base layers or... Yeah, dude, blue shop towels is a game changer. Go get yourself some blue shop towels. That's a trade secret right there. They have less lint than regular paper towels, so you don't get lint in on your figure. Actually, they really don't lint at all unless you like really use the same paper towel for a long time. But a regular paper towel will start to break down really fast. And you'll get lint in your paint. You don't want that. These are the secrets the other pros aren't willing to tell you. I'm pretty sure any one of them would be willing to tell you that, but it's just not something we really think about. Sorry, man. I got nothing for you for getting rid of cat hair. That's your problem to discover, or your solution to discover. I don't have any cats, so. And when I lived at home, or when I lived with my parents, and we did have a cat, he was not allowed upstairs. He was not allowed into my room because I didn't want him jumping on anything, knocking my figures over. He's a good cat, but he wasn't allowed up there. I tell you how you stop getting cat hair in your models, though. Stop adopting strays. Nope. Or, you know, just don't let the cats in your room, I guess. Just close the door. Don't know if that's going to completely stop the cat hair, but it should help a little bit. So I was just thinking, I hear it now, and my roommate's on a flight back from Philadelphia right now. And I was just thinking, have any of you guys ever flown on 4th of July? I realized fireworks only go up like, I don't know, what? A couple 100 feet maybe? Like, especially the big ones. You flew yesterday? At nighttime? Did you get to, like, see a bunch of fireworks from the airplane? I feel like that would be pretty cool. All right. Yeah, anyway. General Elite, hello. Thank you for following. Welcome. All right, I'm feeling okay about how this is shaping up. But yeah, I mean, essentially this is the goal, right? We just continue to do this again and again and continue to refine, and we come in and we paint little white dots on everything. Right? I think you guys get the idea. I could sit here and paint edge highlights on this shield for the next 3 hours. And I will. Just probably not on stream. Because it gets a little boring. Not streaming. You guys are great. The doing this. Right? Let's pull it off and look at it on the shield. Or on his body, I mean. Right, so yeah, let me zoom out. My arm! I'm dead. Right, so it goes like that. Something like that. Yeah. Right, so you get the rough idea. Well, you get a pretty good idea, I guess. No, I just power through, Dan. I put on an audiobook and I just go. The audiobook helps as opposed to streaming where I have to talk and converse. The audiobook I can just like zone out and like do the grind. Six hours? What have I been painting it for? 2 hours now? Two-ish? 2.5? Yeah, probably something like that. To a display quality. Sure, I could paint it faster and in like a sketch way, but it is a lot of little details and stuff, so yeah, that's how I would do the shield. You guys saw me do the sword. So the rest to do is like finish the shield, finish the bottom of the sword, finish a couple little details, clean up some stuff. And he's basically done. I mean, he's close to looking quite done from the front. This leg is not quite done. But other than that, yeah, he's pretty much there. So next week we will start on Probably leather. It's gonna, whatever it is, it's gonna be really dark because it's in shadow, and I would think they probably line it with leather, a leather back. So next week we will start on the Horus Heresy Primarch for the Nova charity. And yeah. Excellent.